Imagine walking into a room and instantly, without saying a single word, every head turns toward you. People feel your presence. They don't know why, but something about you makes them pay attention. Now, imagine being in a conversation where no matter how hard someone tries, they can't seem to get the upper hand on you. You're always 3 steps ahead, calm, steady, untouchable. Here's the truth. Most people think dominance comes from being louder, stronger, or more aggressive. They believe it's about force, about pushing people down to lift themselves up. But that's not real power. Real power is silent. Real power is psychological. It's the ability to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outthink anyone who tries to test you. Have you ever noticed how the smartest people in the room rarely speak the most? They sit back, they observe, they listen, and then when they finally open their mouth, it's game over. That's not luck. That's not chance. That's strategy. And here's the secret. You don't have to be born with it. You can learn it. You can train yourself to walk through life with such composure and sharpness that nobody can shake you. You can learn the rules that allow you to dominate any situation without even raising your voice. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how to do it. But first, I want you to think of one person in your life who always seems to get the better of you. Maybe it's a boss, a friend, a family member, or someone who just knows how to push your buttons. Hold that person in your mind, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to outsmart them. The first thing you must understand, if you ever want to outsmart anyone, is this. The person who controls their emotions controls the situation. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how persuasive you can be, or how much evidence you bring to the table. If you can be triggered, you can be controlled. The moment someone gets you to react, they've already won. And what's worse, they didn't even need to be smarter than you. They just needed to get under your skin. That's the mistake most people make. They confuse emotional reaction with strength, when in reality, it's the fastest way to give away your power. Think about it. Have you ever been in an argument where you lost your temper? You might have felt justified at the time. You might have thought you were proving your point. But what actually happened, you raised your voice, your words came out less controlled, and instead of convincing the other person, you look like you were the one out of control. The calm one always looks stronger, even if they're wrong. Why? Because composure communicates confidence. Losing your temper communicates weakness. And that's the trap most people fall into. They let someone else dictate how they feel and react. Now, here's the secret. People will test you. They'll poke at your patience. They'll press the buttons they know will trigger you, and they'll wait to see how you respond. Some people do it consciously, others unconsciously, but either way, it's a test of power. If you explode, you fail. If you stay unshakable, you win without even trying. I want you to imagine 2 scenarios. In the first one, you're at work, and your boss criticizes you in front of everyone. You feel disrespected, humiliated, and your instinct is to snap back or defend yourself. So you react, you get defensive, maybe your tone sharpens, maybe you raise your voice just enough for people to notice. What's the result? Everyone in the room sees you as rattled. They don't remember the criticism. They remember your reaction. You gave away control. Now let's replay the same scenario. Your boss criticizes you in front of everyone, and instead of reacting, you breathe, you hold eye contact, but you don't flinch. You let silence sit in the air for a moment before calmly responding. Maybe you say something short and measured. Instantly, the room feels the difference. You didn't lose composure, and that alone makes people respect you more. You win without fighting. This doesn't just apply in professional life. Think about relationships. Arguments with friends, partners, or family members often spiral because one person says something sharp, and the other reacts instantly with even sharper words. Back and forth, it escalates until it becomes less about the issue and more about who can shout louder. But imagine if, instead of being pulled into that chaos, you stood firm, you didn't react emotionally, you didn't take the bait. Instead, you stayed calm. That calmness would either disarm the other person or it would make them lose their cool even more. Either way, you come out looking stronger because you didn't lose yourself in the heat of the moment. The truth is, people who can control their emotions are rare. And because of that, they're respected and even feared. Most people are impulsive. They let anger, frustration, or insecurity dictate their moves. But when you master self-control, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power, because if someone can't read you, if they can't push you into a reaction, they can't figure out how to beat you. Now let's go deeper. Why is it so hard to control emotions? Because emotions feel natural. Anger, fear, frustration, they're instant. They bypass rational thought and make us feel like we need to react immediately. But reacting immediately is the biggest mistake. Outsmarting someone isn't about speed, it's about strategy. The person who takes a pause, even for a few seconds, always sees things more clearly. That pause is where control lives. That pause is where dominance begins. You see, emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about mastering how you express it. You can feel anger, but you don't have to show it. You can feel hurt, but you don't have to give someone the satisfaction of seeing it. You can feel disrespected, but you can channel that energy into strategy instead of reaction. That's real discipline. And discipline is what separates those who win once from those who win always. Think of some of the greatest leaders, negotiators, or even interrogators in history. The ones who always came out on top weren't the ones screaming or pounding their fists on the table. They were the ones who could sit in total silence, listening, watching, analyzing, while the other side crumbled under their own emotions. That's what makes people powerful. It's not the noise, it's the stillness. And here's the practical takeaway. Every time someone tries to provoke you, see it as training. Instead of falling into the trap, say to yourself, this is a test, this is my chance to prove control. Reframe it. Don't think of it as an attack. Think of it as practice. Each time you win that battle, you get stronger, sharper, harder to shake. And the more unshakable you become, the harder it is for anyone to ever get the upper hand on you. Remember this, people can only dominate you if they can control how you feel. The second you take that back, you take back your power. Emotions are like a leash. If someone can pull it, they'll drag you wherever they want. But if you cut that leash, if you learn to stand unmovable no matter what comes at you, you become untouchable. So the rule is simple. Outsmarting anyone begins with mastering yourself. If they can't control your emotions, they can't control you. Stay calm, stay composed, stay unshakable, because the calmest person in the room is always the one in control. Most people are terrified of silence. The moment a conversation slows down, they rush to fill it with words, nervous laughter, or explanations. They think silence makes them look weak. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use to outsmart anyone. The truth is, when you stop talking, people start revealing. They give away more than they should. They expose their insecurities, and they tell you exactly what you need to know to gain the upper hand. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Think about the last time you were in a tense conversation. Maybe it was with a coworker, maybe a friend, maybe even a stranger.
Notice what happens when silence enters the room.
People fidget. They stumble over their words. They try to explain themselves more than necessary. Why? Because silence makes people uncomfortable. They feel the need to break it. And in doing so, they usually end up revealing too much. This is where you gain control. You don't have to push. You don't have to argue. You just have to stay quiet long enough for the other person to give you everything you need. Listening is equally underestimated. People think listening is passive, but it's one of the most active and intelligent strategies you can deploy. When you truly listen, not just waiting for your turn to speak, you begin to notice patterns, details, and emotions that others completely miss. You hear not just what someone says, but how they say it. You pick up hesitation in their tone, defensiveness in their words, or fear in their pauses. These little cracks reveal the truth beneath the surface. And once you see the truth, you have the advantage. Here's the thing. People love to talk about themselves. Give them the chance, and they'll reveal everything. What motivates them, what scares them, what they want, and what they're hiding. The person who speaks less and listens more always holds the cards. Outsmarting someone isn't about talking over them or proving how smart you are. It's about letting them expose themselves while you quietly gather the information. By the time you decide to speak, you already know exactly where to strike. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're negotiating a deal. If you go in talking too much, explaining your position, laying out your demands, you've already shown your hand. The other side knows what you want, and they can manipulate that to their advantage. But if you go in with silence and questions, then listen carefully, the other side usually reveals what they truly value. They'll tell you what they're afraid of losing, what they're desperate to gain, and what compromises they're willing to make. They think they're in control because they're talking, but really the control belongs to the one who is listening. Silence also gives you presence. People associate quiet with confidence. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. Often they're the most insecure, but the one who doesn't rush to speak, the one who takes their time, who allows pauses before answering, that's the person people pay attention to. Think about great leaders, interrogators, or master negotiators. They're not rushing, they're not filling every second with noise. They're calculated, they let silence work for them, because silence makes the other person uncomfortable, while it makes them look unbothered, composed, and powerful. Another reason silence is so powerful is because it forces others to reflect on their own words. If someone says something manipulative or dishonest, and you just stay quiet, that silence becomes heavy. They start second-guessing themselves. They start explaining more. They start wondering if you caught something they didn't want you to notice. Your silence forces them into insecurity. They may even backtrack on their own words without you having to challenge them directly. That's control without confrontation. Listening also allows you to prepare the perfect response. Instead of reacting instantly, which is what most people do, you get to pause, process, and then choose your words carefully. And when your words finally come, they carry weight because you weren't speaking the whole time. People actually pay attention when you do. Every word lands harder. Every sentence feels deliberate. That's how influence works. You speak less, but your words matter more. Let me give you another scenario. Imagine you're in a heated argument. Most people escalate by talking faster, louder, trying to win with sheer volume. But if you go quiet, if you let the other person rant while you listen calmly, what happens? They burn out. Their anger loses momentum. And when you finally respond, measured, precise, calm, it completely shifts the dynamic. Suddenly they look out of control, and you look unshakable. You win the argument not by shouting, but by being the steady hand in the storm. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence exposes people. Most people can't handle the weight of it. They panic, they overshare, they reveal their hand, and the one who can sit comfortably in silence, who can listen without rushing to speak, always has the advantage. It requires discipline. Yes, because silence can feel awkward, but the moment you embrace it, you'll notice how much more people tell you when you stop trying to prove yourself. If you want to test this, try it in your daily life. The next time someone asks you a question, don't answer immediately. Pause. Hold eye contact. Let the silence sit for a few seconds before you respond. You'll notice the other person becomes unsettled, maybe even starts filling the space with more words. That small pause makes you look composed and deliberate, like you're choosing your words carefully, and that alone makes you more powerful. Silence and listening are like invisible weapons. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but their effect is undeniable. They make you unpredictable, they give you control, and they make people respect you without you having to demand it. When you stop talking so much and start listening more, you begin to see things you never noticed before. You hear the truth between the lines, you pick up on weakness, hesitation, and fear. And the moment you can see what others can't, you've already outsmarted them. So learn to sit in silence without fear. Learn to listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your intuition, and your patience. Because the one who listens always learns more, and the one who stays silent always controls the room. The secret to dominance isn't always in what you say, it's in what you don't say. When you walk into a room, you're already communicating before you even open your mouth. Your body language, your eye contact, the way you carry yourself, it all sends signals to the people around you. And here's the truth. Most people decide what they think about you in the first few seconds. That means before you've had the chance to explain who you are, they've already judged whether you're confident, insecure, powerful, or uncertain. This is why presence matters. If you want to outsmart people, if you want to gain the upper hand without ever raising your voice, you need to learn how to control the room with your presence alone. Presence is energy. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the one everyone feels. Think of those moments when someone walks in and, without saying anything, all eyes shift toward them. It's not because they're trying to be noticed, it's because they project certainty. They move with intention. They don't shrink. They don't fidget. Their energy fills the space naturally. That's strategic presence. And when you master it, you don't have to force people to respect you. They'll do it instinctively. Let's break this down. First, your posture tells people whether they should take you seriously. If you slouch, look down, shuffle your feet, or make yourself small, you're signaling insecurity before you even speak. But when you stand tall, shoulders back, head up, and move with purpose, you send the message, I belong here. I'm not intimidated. I'm in control. People read that instantly, even if they're not consciously aware of it. And once they read it, they respond to you differently. Eye contact is another crucial element. Most people avoid eye contact because they're nervous or unsure, but the one who can hold steady eye contact without flinching projects power. It doesn't mean you stare aggressively. That comes across as insecure posturing. It means you look people in the eyes calmly with composure, showing them you're unafraid. That kind of eye contact can make people second-guess themselves without you saying a single word. It's quiet dominance. Then there's the way you use space. Weakness shrinks, strength expands. Insecure people hug the walls, sit at the edge of the table, or fold into themselves. Powerful presence takes up space naturally, not in an arrogant way, but in a steady, grounded way, where you position yourself in a room, communicates your role. Do you walk in confidently and claim your space? Or do you hover on the sidelines, waiting for permission? If you want control, you must act like you already own your place. But presence isn't just about body language. It's also about energy. Have you ever noticed that some people make you feel calm the moment they walk in, while others make you feel tense without saying anything? That's because their energy carries weight. When you're composed, when you're not frantic, when you move slowly and deliberately instead of rushing, you create an aura of control. People sense it. They can't explain it, but they feel it. And once they feel it, they unconsciously defer to it. Here's a mistake most people make. They think to dominate a room, they need to be loud, crack jokes, or constantly talk. But the opposite is true. The more you chase attention, the weaker you look. Real presence doesn't need to beg for attention, it commands it. And the way you command attention is by being intentional with every move. Don't rush your words, don't over-explain yourself. Don't fill silence with nervous chatter. The less you do, the more people notice. Presence also comes from preparation. If you walk into a situation unsure of yourself, it shows. If you walk in knowing who you are, what you want, and what you stand for, people feel it without you needing to announce it. Think of a soldier who's trained, who's disciplined. They don't need to brag about their strength. You can see it in the way they stand, the way they move, the way they look at you. That's what you must cultivate, the quiet certainty that you are prepared for whatever comes your way. Imagine two people walking into a meeting. The first one rushes in, apologizing for being late, fumbling with papers, speaking quickly, trying to catch up. The second one walks in calmly, sits down, and listens before speaking. Which one do you think everyone respects more? The calm one, the composed one. The one who doesn't look desperate for approval. That's the power of presence. You don't have to do much, you just have to not fall into the traps of insecurity that everyone else does. Even in confrontational situations, presence is everything. If someone tries to provoke you, the way you hold yourself communicates more than your words. Do you flinch? Do you avoid their eyes? Do you get loud and defensive? Or do you stay still, breathe, and look them in the eye without raising your voice? The one who stays calm always controls the interaction. The one who panics loses instantly. And the one who looks rattled gives away their weakness. Presence is also about timing. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Let others rush. Let them scramble to speak first. Let them show their hand. You stay composed. You let them reveal themselves. Then, when you finally speak, every eye and ear is on you. People value your words more because they weren't wasted. Strategic presence means you don't need to fight for attention. It comes to you because you've created an aura of weight around everything you do. The beautiful thing about presence is that it's learnable. You don't have to be born with it. You can train it. Start by noticing how you walk into rooms. Do you carry yourself like you belong there? Start by noticing how you sit in conversations. Are you fidgeting nervously or are you still and grounded? Start by practicing silence and calm eye contact. At first it might feel uncomfortable, but over time it becomes natural. And once it becomes natural, people will feel your authority the moment you step into any space. The goal isn't to intimidate, it's to radiate certainty. Because when you radiate certainty, you don't have to prove yourself. People will sense it, respect it, and often surrender to it without even knowing why. That's how you control a room without saying a word. That's how you dominate silently, through the energy you carry, the space you claim, and the calmness you project. When you master presence, words become secondary. Your very being speaks louder than anything you could say. Questions are one of the most underestimated weapons in human interaction. Most people think that to dominate a conversation, you need to speak more, talk louder, or have the sharpest arguments. But the truth is the opposite. The person who asks the questions controls the direction. The person who asks the questions holds the power. Why? Because questions put the other person on the defensive. They force the other side to reveal their thoughts, their weaknesses, and often their intentions without even realizing it. The more you question, the less you have to expose about yourself. The more they answer, the more information you gain. Think about a courtroom. Lawyers don't dominate by giving long speeches. That's for the closing argument. The real control happens during cross-examination. And what is cross-examination? It's nothing but a series of questions designed to corner the witness, expose contradictions, and reveal the truth. The lawyer asking the questions is in complete control, while the person answering is limited to reacting. That's power. That's strategy. That's how dominance is established, not by talking endlessly, but by asking the right questions. The beauty of questions is that they shift the focus away from you. Instead of scrambling to defend your own position, you make the other person explain theirs. And here's the secret. Most people aren't prepared to defend themselves. They speak without thinking. They make claims without evidence. And when you start pressing them with questions, they quickly unravel. It doesn't matter how confident they looked at the start. Once you begin asking questions, you control the flow. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're in a disagreement with someone at work. They say, "This project will never work." Most people would react by arguing, by explaining why it will work, by giving reasons and evidence. But when you do that, you're already on the defensive. You're trying to prove yourself, which means they've set the frame. Now flip it. Instead of arguing, you ask, "Why do you believe it won't work?" Silence. Let them answer. They might give a vague reason. So you ask another question. Can you be specific about what makes you say that? Now they're digging deeper. Each question forces them to either come up with stronger evidence or exposes the fact that they don't actually have any. You've shifted the burden of proof. You've flipped the power dynamic. Questions also reveal hidden motives. People rarely tell you what they're really thinking up front. But if you know how to ask, you can uncover their real fears and desires. For instance, in negotiations, someone might say, "That price is too high." Instead of instantly lowering your offer or defending the price, you ask, "What would make the price feel fair to you?" Or, "What concerns you most about this deal?" Their answers will reveal what they actually care about. Maybe it's not really the price, they just need reassurance about quality, timing, or reliability. Without questions, you'd never know. With questions, you see straight into their real motivations. The key is not just asking questions, but asking the right ones. Bad questions make people defensive or shut down. Strategic questions open them up and keep them talking. The most powerful questions are often the simplest. Why do you think that? What do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? What do you want to happen next? These kinds of questions are non-threatening on the surface, but they put the other person in a position where they have to justify themselves. And the more they justify, the more they reveal. There's also a psychological effect at play. When someone is answering your questions, you've subtly placed yourself in the position of authority. They are responding to you. They are following your lead. Even if they don't realize it, you've established dominance. That's why great leaders, negotiators, and interrogators ask far more questions than they answer. It makes others feel like they're being heard while secretly keeping them under control. Another advantage of asking questions is that it buys you time. Instead of rushing to respond or defend yourself, you let the other person talk while you gather your thoughts. This prevents emotional reactions and allows you to stay calm and calculated. The more they speak, the more clarity you gain, and the stronger your eventual response becomes. Now let's take this into personal life. Imagine you're in an argument with your partner or a friend. Emotions are high and they throw accusations at you. If you immediately defend yourself, it escalates. But what if instead you asked, why do you feel that way? Or what makes you say that? These questions slow down the conversation. They force the other person to explain instead of attack. And often by the time they've finished answering, the intensity has already dropped. You've shifted the energy by simply refusing to react and choosing instead to guide the conversation with questions. Silence also works beautifully with questions. Ask something, then stay quiet. Don't rush to fill the gap. That silence pressures the other person to keep talking, and in that extra talking, they reveal even more. Interrogators use this all the time. They'll ask one short question, then lean back and stay silent. The silence makes the subject nervous, and in trying to fill the silence, they say more than they intended. You can use the exact same strategy in daily life. Asking the right questions also makes you look smarter, without you having to prove anything. People remember the one who made them think, not the one who lectured them endlessly. If you ask sharp, thoughtful questions, you come across as intelligent, composed, and confident. You don't need to push your ideas forcefully. People respect you because your questions made them see things differently. The ultimate goal isn't to trap people with questions, but to guide them into revealing the truth themselves. When someone comes to a conclusion on their own, it has far more impact than if you had told them outright. That's the genius of questions. They let people think it was their idea, even though you led them there step by step. So remember this, when you're in a conversation, don't rush to argue, explain or prove yourself. Step back and ask with intention. Ask with patience. Let the other person talk, reveal, and expose themselves. Because the one who asks the questions controls the conversation, and the one who controls the conversation ultimately controls the outcome. Most people lose not because they aren't smart enough, but because they can't think beyond the moment. They want to win right now. They want to prove themselves right in this exact argument, humiliate the other person in this exact conversation, or get the upper hand in this exact situation, and that's why they fail. The person who thinks only about short-term victory might win small battles, but they lose the war. Outsmarting someone isn't about proving yourself in the moment. It's about creating a reputation, a presence, a strategy. So powerful that in the long run, people don't even try to challenge you. That's what playing the long game is all about. The long game is patience combined with strategy. It's understanding that dominance isn't established in one fight. It's built over time. When you play the long game, you don't react every little jab. You don't chase every insult. You don't fight every battle. Instead, you let small things slide. You observe, you gather information, and you wait for the right moment to make your move. That's how true power operates. Think about chess. Amateur players get excited about quick wins. They want to capture pieces fast. They want to look like they're dominating early on. But masters know the real victory doesn't come from rushing. It comes from positioning. It comes from anticipating 10 moves ahead. They'll sacrifice a piece now to trap their opponent later. They'll stay patient while the other side overextends. That's how they win. Life works the same way. If you want to outsmart people, you need to think like a chess master, not like a beginner. When you play the long game, you stop caring about being right in the moment. You don't need to prove yourself in every argument. You don't need to show your strength every time you're challenged. Because the truth is, The people who are always trying to prove themselves look insecure. The ones who can stay silent, who can walk away, who can let others think they won a small battle. Those are the ones who hold the real power, because they're saving their energy for the moment that matters. There's a saying, never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. That's the trap of short-term fights. People who crave conflict will try to pull you into pointless battles because they feed off your reaction. If you give it to them, you've already lost. But when you refuse to engage, when you step back and think about the bigger picture, you're already ahead. You're not here to win scraps. You're here to dominate the field. Here's another truth. Reputations are stronger than arguments. If you consistently show that you are calm, strategic, and unshakable, people start to think twice before going against you. They remember how you handled the last situation, how you didn't lose your cool, how you didn't fall into traps. Over time, this creates a shield. People don't just respect you, they avoid provoking you because they know they won't win. That's the ultimate form of outsmarting. When your reputation does the work for you. Think about leaders, CEOs, negotiators, or even world figures who have played the long game. They didn't rush into every fight. They didn't react to every insult. They built networks, gathered influence, and positioned themselves so strategically that by the time they made their move, there was no stopping them. That's what you should aim for. Don't just think about the next 5 minutes. Think about the next 5 years. Don't just think about proving yourself today. Think about creating a presence that speaks for you tomorrow. Playing a long game also means choosing your battles wisely. Not every challenge deserves your attention. If someone insults you, mocks you, or tries to provoke you in public, your instinct might be to clap back immediately. But ask yourself, is winning this moment worth the energy? Or would it be smarter to let them think they won while you save your focus for the opportunities that actually matter? Outsmarting isn't about feeding your ego, it's about protecting your position. And sometimes the strongest move you can make is walking away. Patience is the weapon most people don't have. People want instant gratification. They want to win now. They want recognition today. But when you develop patience, you automatically separate yourself from the crowd. You stop chasing petty victories. You start thinking like a strategist, not a fighter. And strategists always outlast fighters. Here's something important to understand. The long game doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right things consistently, even when the results don't show right away. It means staying disciplined, building your skill, strengthening your reputation, and waiting for the right opening. Most people burn out because they waste their energy on meaningless skirmishes. You conserve yours so that when the real challenge comes, you have the strength and clarity to crush it completely. And when you finally make your move, it's devastating because it's been building silently for a long time. By the time others realize what you're doing, it's too late. That's the beauty of strategy. You don't just win, you win in a way that makes future resistance impossible. You create momentum that keeps carrying you forward long after the moment has passed. So, how do you live this out? Daily, you start by pausing before reacting. When someone tries to provoke you, don't ask, how do I win this now? Ask, what serves me in the long run? Most of the time, the long run demands silence, patience, and observation. Then when the timing is right, you act with precision. That single move will have 10 times more impact than all the little reactions you could have made along the way. The long game also requires emotional discipline. You have to be willing to let people think they're ahead for now. You have to resist the urge to correct everyone, to fight every critic, to argue every point. Because dominance isn't about who looks like they won today. It's about who actually ends up on top tomorrow. And tomorrow always belongs to the one who thinks further, who waits longer, and who doesn't waste their energy proving themselves to the wrong people. Remember this, anyone can win a moment. Few can win a lifetime. Outsmarting someone doesn't mean humiliating them in an argument. It means setting yourself up so that eventually they have no path to victory against you. Play the long game. Outsmart, don't outfight. Because the one who outlasts is always the one who truly wins. At the end of the day, real dominance doesn't come from loud voices, quick comebacks, or flashy displays of power. It comes from control, from discipline, from being the one who sees beyond the moment while everyone else is stuck in it. Outsmarting people is not about fighting harder. It's about thinking deeper. It's about patience, silence, presence, asking the right questions, and playing the long game when everyone else is chasing short-term wins. Remember this, those who fight for attention burn out fast, but those who build with strategy last forever. Never lower yourself to the level of those trying to provoke you. Let them waste their energy. Let them show their cards too soon. While they're busy chasing small victories, you're positioning yourself for total dominance. If you want to win in life, don't just play the game, reshape it. Don't rush to prove yourself. Make them realize over time that you are untouchable. And never forget, true power doesn't shout. It doesn't scramble. It doesn't fight for scraps. True power waits, watches, and then strikes with precision when the time is right. That's how you outsmart anyone. That's how you win every time.